Continuing on this Friday edition of the show, and I promised them all week, Brian Kenny hanging out with us from MLB Now. Does a terrific job there Monday through Friday, noon Eastern. All right, let's start with the Ohtani stuff first and nail that. Buster Olney certainly had a lot of people talking yesterday, suggesting the Yankees are the favorite to land Ohtani in a trade deadline deal. What was your reaction to that?
I don't know. It's still possible. I think the Angels, from everything I'm hearing, are listening. I think they're loath to do it, and I understand why. In the real world, it's difficult to deal this guy. It's a franchise-changing event, and it would be a bad signal for the franchise itself. So I don't know. I don't know if that happens. Also, it's a rental. It's very dicey, the whole thing. It's a seismic player. You'd be doing it for a rental now. I don't know if it happens. Maybe it does, and there's other information out there. But I think the Angels are in a tough spot to make that happen.
Yeah, but look, I mean, if he's I know they're in a tough spot, but if the guy's leaving anyway, I mean, he's in that.
What if he's not?
But
what if he's not? What if you can negotiate with him?
I get it, but what he said in Seattle basically intimated if he's not on a win, if they can't win, that he's tired of losing.
Yeah, I know, but players say that. Jason, players say that, oh, I want to be with a winner. Winning is so important to me. And if it's the most money and he's comfortable, he seems to be very, very comfortable. They won these sweepstakes before. Remember, it was kind of an open process last time around. They've won it already. They probably think they can win it. Now, maybe they have, and I don't know why Ohtani's people would do it. There's no play in it for Ohtani to say to the Angels, hey, look, I'm not coming back, right? It's always good to keep a bidder interested. So he wouldn't do that. And I think they want to keep him. And there's a chance they keep him. By the way, people get very comfortable playing in Anaheim. And look at Mike Trout, very comfortable there. And we're going to win. Yeah, winning's important. They're not losing. They're not like, he's not going out there losing every day. They're just barely over 500. So if you're saying over the next 10 years, can they win? It's possible.
How about the Rangers? I mean, look, again, as a potential spot for Ohtani, if they do deal him at the deadline, they already went and got Chapman. We know the talent on this team. We saw all the all-stars they had. Could the Rangers go the rental route? It's such an expensive rental, but they have the prospects. Yeah. They have the package.
It is interesting. I mean, maybe. I don't know if he wants to, if he want to go there, if it's worth the package to have him there. I'll say this. If you were, and this is a different way of thinking about it, if you were going into a playoff series, who's the number one player to impact that series? It's that guy. He can pitch 2 games for you in a series, not the wild card, but in a division series, he might be able to pitch twice. He can relieve, and he's slugging 600. So yeah, he'd be worth it as a rental, I would say. I just don't see the Angels doing it in the real world.
It's just such a game-changing amount of prospects. We saw what Washington got in the haul for Juan Soto. And
that was 2.5. They had 3 years of Soto, 2.5.
Yes.
3 playoff runs. Very different situation.
Yeah, I agree. You're right. But I mean, you're talking about a franchise-changing, potential lot of prospects here for a team. And you could still bring back Ohtani in free agency if you're the Angels in that.
Well, you see, now I don't agree with that either. I think if you trade him away and you think, hey, we'll negotiate and he'll just come on back. I don't know. It's not like it severs the relationship, but it doesn't help it. Whereas if he's still there and he's your guy and you can talk to him all the way up, because if he's yours, you can talk to him the whole way through. You have a real advantage. And I think they probably feel that way. He's been happy there. Again, this whole thing about, I want to win. What is he supposed to say when he's in front of everybody? You got to say something. I get it.
Hanging out with Brian Kenny, MLB Now, weekdays, MLB Network. You mentioned Trout, and I think it's kind of interesting. If Ohtani leaves in free agency and this thing starts to sort of disintegrate into a rebuild, a retool, can you see a scenario where Trout, who again has never really had much of an opportunity in the postseason, turns to the organization and says, look, I want to go somewhere where I can win? And would they acquiesce that? One, does he strike you as the type of player that would ask? 2, do you think they would acquiesce?
It's possible. It's a big deal. It's a lot of money per year. He's also getting injured a lot now.
Every year.
We've kind of reached that point where it's a tipping point, because last year, off the top of my head, did he play 119 games or something like that?
Yep.
And he'd have 40 homers in 119 games. So it's not like he missed half a season, but he missed a good portion of the season.
Always
but
enough that it cripples their season. It feels like, Brian.
Right. No, you're right. That's what I'm saying. Last year, with 40 homers, it's like, wow, he didn't not show up. But you're getting to the point. You're looking at his 30s, and he's been very sporadic playing in his late 20s. So if you're the Angels, you do have to be a little more serious about that. If he comes to you quietly and says, look, what are we doing? I think you do have to listen to that. Where I would have thought that would be an outlandish thing a year or two ago. But we're at the point now where he's not playing full seasons, and he's an awful lot of money, and he'd bring an awful lot back. And who knows, maybe a change of venue helps him. But it is starting to make more sense for the Angels, given that, he's playing 100 to 130 games per year anyway.
Give me the first half team that has surprised you that you think comes back down to earth over the next 10 weeks.
Oh, I think you changed your question there. I was already going to say Reds, but then comes down to earth, Marlins. Those are my answers.
Really? The Marlins?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Good for such a big sample, though.
Yeah. You look at their production, and they should be about a 500 team. Now, doesn't mean they have to be a 500 team. They could be better than that. They have been better than that. Again, I'm saying I don't believe in the Marlins to be a playoff team. But if you had asked me at the start of the year, hey, do you expect them to be 13, 15 games over 500? I would have said no as well. So I'd be wrong on them. I guess there's upside in that Alcantara and Chisholm can play and play well. They haven't. They're supposedly their two best players haven't even played well. In Chisholm's case, hasn't played really much at all because of injury. And they've still been able to play quite good. So, but I don't believe. I mean, their raw production doesn't speak to that. The Reds, they've got 6 position players that have all arrived that all have an OPS plus of 120 or better. 6. So that is a strong foundation. And Elly De La Cruz and Joey Votto has come back. Their pitching is better than it's been in the first half. So I think the Reds are absolutely for real and a ton of fun. I think the Marlins are a year away, and they've been a very big surprise to me so far.
I'll ask you about Elly De La Cruz in a second here. If you're talking about the Marlins, you got to talk about Luis Arraez, 386, 387, whatever it is around the All-Star break here. How realistic is a potential run to 400 for him, especially when you look at what is around him in that lineup and team's ability to sort of pitch around him? I know Soler has been fantastic.
400 is like a near impossibility. I mean, just on the sheer face of it. I haven't checked his batting average plus in a while. Batting average plus is your batting average as compared to your peers that year. Mm-hmm. His batting average plus was number 1 all time. It was better, Jason, than Nap Lajoie in 1901. He was hitting 440 because, back in the old days, like guys were hitting 350 all the time. No one's hit 350 in the last 12 years. I did the research on this. So to hit 350 in this day and age is outlandish. Now, he has that stroke. We did a deep dive on his StatCast, profile. He hits between 90 to 95 miles per hour, which on the whole by StatCast is not considered a hard hit ball.
Yeah.
But it is a hard hit ball, right? 90 to 95. And that's his version of a hard hit ball, right? You follow me? Like He's not 6'3", 240 taking this big outlandish swing. He's left-hander. He's 5'10", 175, bang. But he hits the ball hard. 90 to 95 and between 5 and 20 degrees. That's what we call the Arráez zone, not a barrel zone.
Like Tony Gwynn.
What's that?
Feels like Tony Gwynn.
Yeah, no, absolutely. In an era where nobody is doing that. So that has him in the 380s, which is remarkable. But man, I watched him do the first night where he did a 1 for 5 and he just hit a couple of line drives right to a glove. It's like, oh man, it's so hard. You go, 1 for 3, your batting average comes down like 1 for 3 with a walk. So watching him, he needs all these 5 for 5 nights to get it back. And he did, I think, 3 of them last month, but that's extremely difficult. It's a tall order, especially in this day and age with velocity. He's the number one contact hitter in the game, but man, it's so hard.
You gave me the first half surprise that you think goes the wrong way. Give me the first half surprise that's been a disappointment that you think does still have a run in them for the postseason.
Oh, look, I think I've been doing it on MLB Now, like on almost daily basis. The malaise clubs are the story of the first half.
Sure.
Mets, Padres, Cardinals, White Sox, Mariners, Guardians. These teams, we all thought they were getting better. It wasn't just that, hey, they were good, but they're old. No, they were all supposed to get better. I immediately kind of wrote off the White Sox and Cardinals in their own column because it's like Cardinals are a disaster. White Sox, a disaster again, post La Russa. Not Tony's fault anymore. There's something just wrong that's not happening. But the Mets and Padres are like their own entry, aren't they? I mean, we didn't expect that. The number one payroll of all time, the number 3 payroll in the game, that's the Padres, and they are below 500. That's the most stunning thing of the season, that money did not get them entry into wild card position. Here's something I'm going to throw on my show today.
Sure.
Do you know the top 4 clubs in payroll are not in playoff position right now? It's also the Phillies and the Yankees. Top 4. And Jason, that doesn't happen. Usually if you're top 3 or 4 in payroll, you're getting into the playoffs. It doesn't mean you're the best team, but you're getting into, especially these playoffs, 6 deep in each league. But to answer your question, Padres. Padres have the production. They have the raw production, the raw talent, and it's fairly youthful. I'd be stunned if they don't make the playoffs.
Lucas Giolito, you mentioned the White Sox. That could certainly be a guy on the move at the trade deadline. And the Mets, Steve Cohen basically said everybody other than Justin Verlander could wind up being moved. If it's not bolted to the floor, the Mets could be moving a lot of guys.
Yeah, but it's tougher for them to do it too. Again, this is my preface that I say, in the real world, it's tougher. You and I like to play ruthless GM, flip the assets. Come on, let's go back up the truck, back it up. But in the real world, if you were the GM of the Mets, you'd be loath to just break it up already. There is a long way to go. Like, I know are they 8 out, 7 out? I think they're 7 out.
Oof.
There's a long way to go. You have to have some belief in your original plan. And if you're the Mets, the alternative is to really retrench. And that, I think, would be doubly painful. They're in a tough spot. I think they're better. If I'm in the real world, I play it out if I'm them.
Yeah. Last one. I know you got to go. You talk a lot of, you talk to a lot of baseball people. We talk a ton about Ohtani. Outside of him, is Elly De La Cruz the most exciting thing in baseball right now?
Oh, yeah. It's so crazy. Here's the best part. So I'm doing something on him today in my essay as well on MLB Now. He has the best arm in the infield. He has the hardest throws. He throws 97 from third base across the diamond.
Sean Dunston back in the day.
Yeah, he's not on a pitching rubber. He stays flat foot, throwing 97 across the diamond. He also, we know, he's the fastest guy in the sport. Fastest guy, home to first and home to third. Number 1. He's top 15 in one of the hardest hit balls. He's hit the ball 116 miles an hour. He's hit the ball, I think, 440 feet. So he's not the hardest hitter in the game, but he's about the hardest hitter, and he's the hardest thrower, and he's the fastest runner. And he's hitting 325. Jason, he's a polished player. His slash line is attractive. 325, I think it's like a 380 on base. So he takes some walks here and there. He's not all hacking. And he's slugging like 525, 530. So he's polished. As soon as I saw him playing a game, I was like, wait, he knows how to play. So he's not just some tools monster, some StatCast darling, some freak of nature. He's a good baseball player on top of that. So the answer to your question is yes, absolutely.
Brian Kenny, catch him weekday afternoons, noon Eastern, MLB Now on MLB Network. You're always generous with your time, my friend. I appreciate it.
Take care, Jason. See ya.